All right, so now we're going to be moving on to Western Conference players that I believe are the greatest players for their respective franchises. So starting off with the Dallas Mavericks, I don't think there's any debate that Dirk Nowitzki is the greatest player to ever wear a Dallas Mavericks jersey. Helped the Mavericks win their only championship in franchise history back in the 2011 NBA Finals, where the Dallas Mavericks were squatted up. They had Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Kidd, Jason Terry, Tyson Chandler. They had a squad in 2011, and they dethroned the big three in Miami: LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. In a seven-game series, finished them off in Game 6 and won the title actually in Miami. Dirk Nowitzki had an incredible run with the Dallas Mavericks. Stayed loyal to the franchise. That was the only franchise that he played for in his respective Hall of Fame career. Gave his heart and soul to the city of Dallas, won MVP in 2007, and played a total of 51,368 minutes for the Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki definitely deserves to be recognized as the best player to ever play for the Dallas Mavericks. Then the Denver Nuggets, I believe, is Nikola Jokic as we speak today. Very early, but he has already won back-to-back MVPs. I believe he's on his way to winning his third MVP, back having a three-peat winning MVPs. So that's going to be truly special if he can pull that off. So far with the Denver Nuggets and in his NBA career, he has had 99 triple-doubles, most triple-doubles scored by a center in NBA history. Helped the franchise overcome a 3-1 deficit in the bubble. When you think about it, in the 2020 playoffs, they were down 3-1 in the second round to the Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Doc Rivers Clippers team. They came all the way back, finished them off in 7, and finished them off in Game 7 in dominating fashion. I think that was a legacy playoff run for Nikola Jokic and his stint with the Denver Nuggets so far. Moving on to the Golden State Warriors, it's Steph Curry. It's up there between Steph Curry and Wilt Chamberlain, but I gotta go with Steph Curry. He was the man in charge of this historic dynasty for the Golden State Warriors. One of the best sports dynasties in the 21st century. Steph Curry has been a part of, and he's been the ringleader of it. Greatest shooter in NBA history. Greatest shooter on the planet of Earth. He's a three-time. He's the all-time three-point leader. Two-time MVP. He's now a Finals MVP. He now has a Finals MVP to his resume. He's won 4 NBA titles. Hopefully, the basketball gods let Steph Curry finish his career with the Golden State Warriors. I think it's only right. I think that he has been committed to the Golden State Warriors since day one. I think he should finish his career there as well. Moving on to the Houston Rockets, it's debatable, but I have James Harden as the best player for the Rockets. His run with the Rockets will never be forgotten. He established himself as one of the greatest guards in modern day era, and definitely wanted to establish himself as being a top 5 shooting guard in NBA history, in my opinion. Only thing missing from his time with the Houston Rockets was an NBA championship. He had some tag team partners. He had some sidekicks out there. In his time with the Houston Rockets, he had Dwight Howard by his side as a sidekick, failed to win a championship. Had Chris Paul by his side as a sidekick, failed to win a championship. Had Russell Westbrook for a year by his side, reunited, failed to win a championship. So unfortunately, the only thing that's missing from James Harden's run with the Houston Rockets is an NBA title. He won a couple scoring titles, and he won an MVP out there in Houston, but just missing a championship. Los Angeles Clippers, this one's going to be short, sweet, and to the point. Bob McAdoo. Bob McAdoo is the player to name for this franchise, and a lot of people are not going to know who he is. And quite frankly, I really don't know much about Bob McAdoo either, but someone had to go on this list. The franchise has not had a significant player have a life-changing season with the franchise so far, even when this franchise was in Buffalo. All the way till now, the Los Angeles Clippers, nobody has... this team is still yet to get to NBA Finals. There's nobody that's really had a significant life-changing season with the Los Angeles Clippers just yet. So, gonna quickly move on from that one. Los Angeles Lakers, I have Kobe Bryant. He's bled gold and purple for the Los Angeles Lakers. It's debatable to me between him and Magic Johnson, but everything that Kobe Bryant gave the Lakers, I can't miss him off of this list. always left it all on the court. Mamba mentality was something serious on a nightly basis. We talk about the performances that Kobe Bryant gave to the NBA world and the NBA community on a nightly basis. He won 5 NBA titles and scored 81 points against the Toronto Raptors. That historic performance will never be forgotten and will be up there for greatest scoring performances in NBA history. Former MVP, a two-time Finals MVP, unbelievable clutch moments that will live forever in the sport of basketball. Memphis Grizzlies. Zach Randolph. First player I think of when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies, when I look at their logo, when I think about the Memphis Grizzlies as a basketball team, when you think about the greatest player of all time, I think it's Zach Randolph. He was a nightmare to play on a nightly basis when you matched up against him on the court. One of the best big men in the league when he was in his prime. In the last decade in the NBA, Zach Randolph was definitely truly special to watch as a big man. His jersey is the only jersey retired by the Memphis Grizzlies franchise as we speak today. So definitely Zach Randolph deserves to be the best player for the Memphis Grizzlies. Moving on, the Minnesota Timberwolves is Kevin Garnett. This one is it's short, sweet, to the point. Leads the franchise in all games played. Is the franchise leader in every stat imaginable. Kevin Garnett, best Timberwolves player. New Orleans Pelicans. Chris Paul. If you guys think about it, really known for being known as the greatest greatest New Orleans Hornet player. But the franchise was renamed from the Hornets to the Pelicans about 9-10 years ago. So therefore, I still am convinced that Chris Paul was the greatest player to play for the New Orleans franchise. Led the Hornets to 3 to 6 years with led the Hornets to the playoffs 3 to 6 years with the franchise. Became the point guard in a Hornets jersey, and that was on his path to becoming one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. Chris Paul's time with the Hornets will never be forgotten. Oklahoma City Thunder, Kevin Durant. Yes, like I just mentioned, franchises have changed names, just like how the New Orleans Hornets went to the New Orleans Pelicans. Well, the Seattle Supersonics were once upon a time the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the franchise changed when they moved to Oklahoma City. And I'm still saying that Kevin Durant is the best player to play for either respective franchise. Greatest player to play in franchise history. Thunder and Supersonics, like I just mentioned, are included. One of the greatest scorers in NBA history, helped the Thunder become contenders every season. In his time with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he won Rookie of the Year, MVP, and helped the Thunder play in their first NBA Finals. When you think about years and years ago, what could have been with Russell Westbrook and James Harden matching up, playing all together. They could have won consecutive championships, but unfortunately the band was broken way too early, in my opinion. But I believe KD is the best player to ever play for that respective franchise. Phoenix Suns, I have Steve Nash. He won back-to-back MVP awards with the Phoenix Suns. Offensive mastermind on the court on a nightly basis. Definitely one of the greatest point guards also in NBA history. For the Portland Trailblazers, it's Damian Lillard. He is now the all-time leader in points scored for the franchise. The NBA definition of loyalty. If there was an urban dictionary for NBA definitions, you would look up loyalty and you would find Damian Lillard in the urban dictionary of the NBA in the meaning of loyalty. He took the Trailblazers to the Western Conference, has stayed loyal to the franchise since. Unfortunately, hasn't got past the Western Conference Finals yet in his career. And I don't think he will with the Trailblazers. But, man, it would be the icing on the cake, one of the greatest things to watch in sports, if he could somehow, some way win a championship with that franchise one day. But also, I'm going to mention his 71-point performance last night against the Rockets while I'm talking about Damian Lillard. Lillard, definitely one of the greatest point guards in the modern era. Definitely one of the greatest scorers when you think about point guards in NBA history. Damian Lillard has always been a special player to watch. Sacramento Kings, I have Oscar Robertson. He had a total 176 triple-doubles, was the former triple-double king of triple-doubles before Russell Westbrook surpassed him, and all-time triple-doubles. Moving on to the San Antonio Spurs, you have Tim Duncan. helped the Spurs become one of the greatest NBA dynasties in NBA history. Another one of the greatest sports dynasties in the 21st century, or were the San Antonio Spurs when you think about Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Greg Popovich coaching. This was a historic run that the San Antonio Spurs went on. Definitely something I'll never forget growing up watching the NBA. Made 15 All NBA team appearances. He's a 5-time NBA champion and won MVP twice. When you think about the greatest power forward in NBA history, Tim Duncan's the man. I think he's the greatest power forward in NBA history. And last but not least, will be the Utah Jazz, and I believe the greatest player was Karl Malone. Was an absolute beast. Karl Malone and John Stockton dominated the Western Conference in the 90s, helping the Jazz play in 2 NBA Finals. Unfortunately, they had to play the Chicago Bulls twice. That team in the 90s, the Chicago Bulls, was something nobody ever wanted to play, and they could never win a title against them when they matched up twice against them in the finals. Karl Malone was a 2-time MVP. It was a 14-time NBA All-Star. So those are all the players for all 30 franchises in the NBA that I believe were the best players for their respective franchises in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.